Hey, do you remember Sea of Thieves? Yeah, that game that started off as a little bit of a disaster that actually ended up pretty good. Well, Sea of Thieves is a beautiful open world, especially playing co-op with friends and blowing up people trying to dig up treasure, apparently. However, Sea of Thieves and its later success has thus inspired new titles, some smaller indie games that are trying to put a spin on that pirate life. So let me introduce to you Salt 2. Shores of Gold. It's set to be an open-world pirate game with a focus on exploration, crafting, and survival, set in an infinite procedural world, meaning that every game that you jump into is going to be completely different. The graphics for an indie game are gorgeous, especially those water effects. I cannot wait to sail the seven seas as a pirate. But this is truly open world. You can go anywhere you like, and there's going to be procedurally generated islands with caves, ruins, pirate camps, and other mysterious places and quests for you to go on. There's going to be crafting mechanics, so you can craft weaponry, tools, chopping down trees, and building your own places to stay. Hunting and fishing for survival, and leveling up your character to unlock unique skill trees and talents for your gear. Oh, and you can also decorate your ship as well and upgrade it just as you can with your own body. Let's talk a little bit about that procedural generation though. This is a two-man team. This is by no means a AAA budget studio, and it's probably even smaller than most indie studios as well. And they're trying to create every single island to be randomly generated. Now, does that bring up red flags for some people? Yeah, maybe. Does No Man's Sky come into the picture at all? Yet it seems what they've done with the island generation system from the gameplay that we've been shown so far is incredibly good, especially the unique details and the variation between said islands. Yet you will not be the only person within this world. There will be villages with merchants and camps that you can buy and sell items, of course things that you hunt or picked up, treasure that you found along the way. You can also pick up quests from these people and the locals around the area, whether you make friends with them or have less friendly interactions. Mining, treasure hunting, caves are going to be big factors, and of course just making sure you can survive, hunting and fishing to make sure you have the food to do so. But it's not all going to be smooth sailing. Did you like that pun? There's going to be legendary pirates for you to fight. Yes, they're going to be brutal. You need to be prepared when heading to uncharted islands and strange caves. Pirates and other dangerous enemies are out in the world searching for glory and won't hesitate to fight anyone in their way. There'll be more challenging enemies and bosses that you're going to have to watch out for, and they're going to get harder and harder. But they will drop rare loot if you defeat them. Yet Salt 2 is of course the sequel to another game. This, as you can see, is the original Salt. It looks very similar in some ways, but I think it's safe to say the graphics have been somewhat improved. The first game came out quite some time ago now. On the 6th of February 2018, Salt was another open world exploration game that came out. And this is when it starts to get interesting, because you can tell that this is incredibly similar to the gameplay in the trailer we've seen in Salt 2. And diving in deep, the original Salt seemed to have been almost abandoned. It first got very positive reviews from people, and then slowly but surely they started to dwindle as the development started to slow down and the game was ultimately left to die before Lava Boot viewers decided to launch the Kickstarter for Salt 2. Now, Salt 2's Kickstarter was somewhat successful. It had 586 backers of $35,000 that was pledged. The original goal was of course $30,000, thus initiating the development of the title itself. But it makes you wonder, why was the second game started upon while the first was still apparently not quite finished? What were the reasons for starting Assault 2 and especially one on Kickstarter? Could this be some malicious intent, or is it more likely that they just wanted to expand the ideas they already had? It's very clear that the original Assault was not exactly what they'd envisioned to start with. Maybe they didn't have the budget or scope or even the experience to make the game they really wanted. There seemed to be, for a game that came out in 2018, a lot of flaws to it. The game, if I'm going to be completely brutal, looks horrific and very, very cheap. Salt 2, on the other hand, seems to be much more refined. The developers seem to have learned a lot, and hopefully that's going to convey itself well in this new title. So it kind of makes sense why they wanted to start again with all this kind of thing. The Kickstarter didn't actually hit enough to reach the console porting version for the title, but maybe that's something we'll see later down the line if there is success to this game. I think overall there are some fantastic ideas here. The game looks really good. The idea of having procedurally generated open world is, on paper, seems like a fantastic, interesting thing to do, but sometimes it doesn't quite work out the way people want. Yet as a game with NPCs, mercenaries, boss battles, crafting, open world, hunting, ship upgrades and decoration, there is a lot of content that looks to be being put into the game itself. So maybe it's not going to be that sparse open world that many people might be expecting. So when is it releasing? Well, Salt 2 Shores of Gold is set to come out in September of 2022. It's a bit worrying that it doesn't have an actual date yet. Maybe that's going to come a little bit later, but it should come in the next month or so. Am I going to play it? I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm a little bit skeptical about the reviews for Salt 1, why the developers actually left it and what the reasons were for it. Maybe that's all going to be revealed when this title comes out. Maybe it is just going to be the opportunity to make something from scratch again, to really put their ideas down on paper without the limitations of an engine or the game that they've already created in the past. Salt 2 looks to be pretty promising, but I guess time's only going to tell whether it will be the successful pirate open world simulator we all are hoping for.